All right, y'all, we are live on this beautiful Thursday afternoon. God bless everybody in the name of Jesus, Yeshua, the Messiah. I do pray everybody is super blessed as Bitcoin, the aftermath of Jerome Powell. As you can see here on the chart, I mean, this is the daily time frame. We've literally done nothing. We're still in this range right here. And the question on everybody's mind is, are we going to pump? Are we going to dump? Are we going to break down from this bear flag with our target of $63,600 to backtest the first time Bitcoin hit that high last bull cycle? Or are we going to absolutely rip to the upside, wrecking all bears, going home crying to their mommies, all right, unable to go sit and eat in the salty spittoon, going to have to go to Super Weenie Hut Juniors? Because we're just going to pump max pain. Everybody's already out of the market. Everybody who was bearish on Bitcoin was an absolute moronic idiot. How could you be bearish on Bitcoin? It only goes straight up. In fact, oftentimes one of my favorite pastimes is turning all the purple candles blue, because there is no purple candle action for Bitcoin. This is crypto over here, guys. All right? This isn't the S&P 500 or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? This isn't the S&P 500. I mean, when we look at the S&P 500, we could see that, you know, that's a super bearish asset, right? Looks really bearish to me. No, this is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is pumping up big time. All right, those are basically our two options here, dump or pump. And we took a poll in the chat. Is Bitcoin going to dump or pump the rest of Diciembre? Looks like the majority of people want us to take a pump, but there's still 41% that want to take a dump. Now, whether you pump or dump, the most important thing for you to do is to like the video, subscribe to the channel, like the video. We are going to be giving away 1,000 USDT if we can get a 1,000 likes in the first half hour. Can you imagine that? We got to shout everybody out in the chat. First of all, a major shout out to Crypto Coons. God bless you, bro. Shout out to Vegas Claw. He says, Jay Casper is the type of guy who wears his Mickey Mouse ears 2 days getting home from Disneyland. Well, we go to Disney World over here, bro. But I have been to Disneyland myself. Shout out to Shogun Crypto. Like that like button like it is your sister. A little bit weird there. Has Bitcoin bottomed? I do believe that we are in for a big bottom within the next few weeks, to be honest with you. And I'm going to go through why. All right. Shout out to, oh man, I can't say her name, but God bless you. I'm going to try it. Mue or Destiny. God bless you. Shout out to Tips Imbad Game. I hope the shorts get clapped. I can't stand short sellers. Real Cypher Rider says, today we live or die, baby. Oh, man, ain't that the truth every single day? There's nothing we can do but get up early in the morning, take a sip from our uneven butt cheek mug, and another sip from our Market Cypher turkey pencil neck mug, and pray to the Lord that he bless us with another day of life. All right? Shout out to Generonoma, who says, what are the odds? I literally just spoke about the Salty Spittoon and Weenie Hut Juniors. That's cool, man. That's pretty cool. Good old Super Weenie Hut Juniors. Shout out to Vital Bud. He says, dude, your followers are naive kids. Man, do you hear that, chat? Vital Bud's talking crap about y'all. You gonna take that from him? Shout out to Small Budget. He says, give him hope until 97. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about why I do think we could see some upside. All right. Shout out to Aaron, lost without God. Shout out to Jesus Christ. Amen. Shout out to Yeshua. May the Lord bless everybody in the name of Jesus. God bless you all. Shout out to Crypto Dylan. He says, what's up, Jaybird? God bless. Major shout to Anthony Lee Crypto, the most jacked crypto YouTube trader. Yeah, I thought it was me, but then Anthony Lee Crypto comes on the scene. He says a little more downside, but not a lower December low than upside. Yeah, man, I like that vibe. I'm feeling that vibe, bro. I'm feeling it. All right. Yeah, I gotta get me a treadmill and be like you. Maybe it'll help your ADHD. A treadmill is the best thing you could get if you have a desk job. Let's see. Short big at the next pump. Yeah, you know, Crispy wants me to give it to you straight. Well, you know how Jason Gasper gives it to you. Yeah, alright, so. First of all, guys, yesterday we did have the good old FOMC announcement. We got to talk about this a little bit. So, essentially, look at this. Where's my screen? Hang on, give me 1 second here, guys. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second here. Give me 1 second here, guys. Hang on 1 second here. Give me uno segundo. Uno segundo, guys. What the heck? What the heck? Jason Casper flopping and groping right now. I cannot get my screens to work. Give me 1 second here. Is this WEEX? Bear with me 1 second, guys. What the heck? All right, wait a second, wait a second. All right, hang on, guys. There's something up with my streaming software, bro. Give me 1 second here. I'll be right back. All right, let's see if this is cool. All right, I think this is cool. All right, so essentially, guys, yesterday, good old Jerome Powell, they lowered interest rates by 25 basis points. This is exactly what we expected to happen. Now, the market reacted by giving us basically a pump and dump. And I'll be honest with you, I was not necessarily expecting this dump yesterday because things were looking pretty bullish until we failed to make a higher high and we just ripped all the way back down literally to the bottom of the range where we're currently trying to find some support. Now, basically what's happened with Jerome Powell during the press conference is he did not make it clear about what it's going to look like going forward. He basically said we're going to have to wait for the data before we make any kind of decision about rate cuts in the future. He basically said nothing, all right? He said we're going to have to watch inflation data and jobs data, and there's no preset plan. There's no clear anything going forward. And so basically this puts us in a very neutral situation, I guess, based on the press conference. But overall, I would have to say it is a bullish thing to continue to see rate cuts. But that brings us to the Bitcoin chart, all right? On the weekly time frame, it's getting close to the end of the week now. We have 3 days and 6 hours left until the end of the week. And you can see we've got the green dot about to confirm on the weekly market cipher B. And historically speaking, this green dot, even in the most bearish of situations, is going to give us a 45% pump, at least, to the upside. If we get a 45% pump based on the confirmation of this green dot, that is going to put us up to around $150,000 to $116,000, back up towards the top of the range that we've been trading since November of 2024. We could very easily see the Bitcoin price come up to this area. Now, we need to confirm this green dot. Now, let me just be very clear. I would never long Bitcoin based on a dot printing, and I would probably not necessarily long Bitcoin based on a dot confirmed unless I was using a very precise risk management and appropriate stop losses and things of that nature. All right. So this green dot, if confirmed, I do say is going to give us some upside. All right. But the week has not closed yet. We still have 3 days. And as it stands right now, technically, we have taken the high of this range that we've been trading. It's very interesting. Look at this. We made one high. We took that high. Now we've taken that high again. And so, I don't know. We're seeing some bearish divergence along the way. So here's what I'd personally be looking for. If we get another drop to the downside, the area that must hold, in my mind, is going to be this. We have the trend line that is going from the low back here on the 21st of November to this low. This is clearly the trend line that must hold if we want to see this range break out bullishly. All right. This trend line must hold. And if we go ahead and we take the fib from the low to the high, you can see that if we pull it from the bottom, potentially, it doesn't look so great from there, but if we pull it from this low, it is coming in directly between our local golden pocket 786. And the one thing we can say about this move up so far is from the low, the first initial bounce did come right between the golden pocket and the 786. So it does make sense if we're going to maintain this, that we would also be looking between the golden pocket and the 786. The fear and greed index today is extreme fear, but less fearful than yesterday, which is quite interesting. If we take a look at some interesting news stories here, Bitcoin dips below 90K after Fed cut widens, stock splits. I mean, what the heck does that even mean, to be honest with you? But basically, Bitcoin dropped once again below $90,000, a very, very key psychological level after the Federal Reserve cut interest rates by 25 basis points. But we've seen overall everything kind of drop. Bitcoin, Ethereum happening over the night. In fact, basically ever since Asia opened after daily open, we saw Bitcoin get a significant move to the downside. Now, according to this article, the reason why Bitcoin is getting moved to the downside is because of the Fed's cautious tone, the unclear tone of the Fed. All right, people allegedly, according to this article, wanted to hear Jerome Powell say, yeah, we're absolutely going to be slashing interest rates. We're going to cut them all the way down super low so that they can't even grow back. But instead he said, well, I don't really know what we're going to do. It wasn't even a unanimous decision to cut rates. We disagreed, but we went with the majority, and moving forward, well, we just can't know anything. We're going to have to look at inflation data as well as jobs data to see what we need to do in the future. And so according to this article, that is why we've seen a drop in cryptocurrency. Another interesting thing in the news is this: Do Kwon to be sentenced for misleading investors who lost billions in stablecoin crash. Do Kwon, this is really interesting, man. Back in the news again. The reason why I think this is interesting is because this is bear markety. This is a little bear markety, honestly. When stuff like this happens, it just has a bear market vibe to it, if you know what I mean. But basically, Do Kwon is about to be sentenced in U.S. court because people lost money in his project. He pleaded guilty, and the government wants him to go to prison for 12 years. So, I don't know. Bear marketing, nothing too significant here. All right, so let's get local here on Bitcoin, and then we're going to look at some other assets. A quick reminder to like the stream, smash up the like, subscribe to the channel. We're going to start on our weekly. Actually, once again, we will start on the 2-month here. I just want to make it clear, guys, overall, my bias on Bitcoin is that a significant high has been put in based on the confirmation of the 2-month bearish divergence, which historically speaking, every single 2-month bearish divergence means the top is in. It was the top in 2018. It was the top in 2021. Here we are 4 years later. Every 4 years, like clockwork, the 2-month bear div confirms, and that's the top. If we go to the monthly, guess what? The momentum wave on Market Cipher B has crossed below the 60 line. We saw that happen in 2018, and that was right before a big drop. We saw that happen in 2022, January 2022. And that was right before the big drop. And we've seen it happen once again right here in November 2025. So based on these high time frames, we are due for a big drop. Of course, the question is, how low will we go? Well, we'll talk about that. But first, as we go down to the weekly time frame, this is where things start to look locally bullish. So remember, based on the 2 month, based on the 1 month, we would assume the top is in. All right, now remember, those signals printed, those top signals printed in 2021, right? We got the 2 month bear div over here. I'd say the top was in. However, Bitcoin continued to trade sideways for a little bit before the actual big drop. Now, the 1 month below the 60 didn't happen until here, okay? But I just want to make it clear that when macro high time frame signals are in, it does not mean we cannot see large amounts of volatility locally. And when I say locally, I mean we're talking about this giant range that we're trading in. All right, when you're talking about the 2 month time frame, if in hindsight, like let's say it's 2027, 2 years down the road, right? And Bitcoin has done something like this, all right? All right, nobody would question that this was the top, all right? If you told people, yeah, I bought Bitcoin here and I sold Bitcoin here, they'd be like, you nailed it, right? You nailed it. But in the moment, remember, especially as day traders, we are dealing with a percent of 70%. I mean, that's a big percent. Okay, so as we come down to the weekly time frame, we are seeing something known as a hidden bullish divergence printing here. A hidden bullish divergence is technically a continuation pattern where you would look for a new all-time high. All right, when you are in an uptrend, the bottom is signaled by this pattern right here. You have a big momentum wave and a more shallow momentum wave as the price gets lower. This is known as the uneven butt cheek pattern. You have a big butt cheek on the left full of ravioli and gravy, ricotta cheese oozing out of the butt cheek. In fact, one of my favorite pastimes is taking a little pin, like a sewing needle, poking the left butt cheek and then squeezing out the ricotta cheese and slurping it up. Excellent, excellent flavor. And then you have the skinny butt cheek on the right. Very, very skinny. Definitely doesn't squat or deadlift, doesn't eat a lot of carbs or fat, and lives on the treadmill. Kind of like your boy. Now, from this bullish divergence, which is the bottom signal, the continuation pattern is now going to be a trigger wave where you see continued momentum and continued money flow getting higher. We had that here. Then every single continuation of the trend is going to be characterized by a lower momentum wave. Okay? So this here was a continuation pattern, very bullish. This here, continuation pattern, very bullish. I mean, and you know, by the way, guys, when these signals printed, I was extremely bullish because you do not print a green dot on market Cypher B without a big move to the upside. And it's very rare that you print a hidden bullish divergence without a massive move to the upside. All right. If you go back and watch my videos from the beginning of April, April 10th, I was calling for new all-time highs based on that weekly market Cypher B. Now, here's the thing. We are currently printing another hidden bullish divergence, but this time is a little different. Why is this time a little different? This time, we've broken down from the trend line. All right, that's the first difference. The second difference is we have the 2 month and month top signals. All right. Now, technically speaking, I do just want to point out the fact that this here also was a hidden bullish divergence in the uptrend. Right? This was also a hidden bullish divergence. We had our first big trigger wave here. The COVID dump gave us a big move. Then we had a hidden bullish divergence right here, a lower momentum wave on a higher low. And then we had another hidden bullish divergence here. This one did not result in a higher high. Why? Because those higher time frame signals had already printed bearish. Now, I'm not saying we can't hit another all-time high here. I think we can, but I'm looking at this still in the context of this sideways range, where even if we are able to make another all-time high based on this hidden divergence, look at what would actually happen here. We would backtest the bull market trend line. We would make a higher high, but it would be basically a breakdown and bearish backtest of this trend line. And you have to think, what would market Cypher B look like on the weekly? If we came up there, we would have another massive drive of bearish divergence with continued bearish money flow. That's why I think this is a little bit different than the previous hidden bullish divergences. However, we still need to expect some upside here. All right. So my bias is this. I'd say in general, the top is in for the next few months. I expect the first half, first 3 quarters, first 2/3 of 2026 to be characterized by sideways and down price action. Sideways and down price action. All right. Not able to break out of the range, right? And generally going sideways and down. All right. That's what I expect for the first part of 2026. I think we do need to cool off. I think we need to see market cipher B give us another bullish divergence, right? Give us another bullish divergence. Give us another bottom signal here. We've broken down from the trend line. We have macro high time frame bearish divs. Let market cipher cool down. Give us another bottom signal so we can enter into another bullish move to the upside. I just blew my nose onto the floor. All right. Now, as we consolidate here, let's go down to our daily time frame because there's a few ways we could see this happen. All right. I am looking for a move to the upside. There's a few ways we could see this happen. I am looking right now at this. We have ourselves the previous support resistance flip. All right. This level basically is from $98.5 thousand, the low we made right here, the low that we made right here before the breakdown, down to the low that we made here on November 21st, 2025. All right. This is the range in which we are trading right now. So there's a few ways that we could see a big move to the upside happen. Way number one is we continue to hold the trend line. Remember, we have this local trend line right here. And so you could say, all right, well, this does look like a bear flag. Let's be honest. Like, we cannot ignore the fact that this is looking kind of like a bear flag, right? But if we hold the trend line and then we break out of this, that to me is going to signal a big potential move to the upside. All right. That would be a difficult pump to catch. All right. The way you need to catch that pump is be looking for local long entries within this, right? Right now, the mentality that I have at least is looking for long trades within this little area. Like, for example, the long trade that I'm in right now, the reason I'm in this long trade now is simply because we had a local long setup given earlier this morning by taking out the lows with a stop hunt with some nice bullish divergences. All right. With some nice bull divergence. And this is a trade I didn't necessarily plan for it because I didn't have time to plan for it. I saw it happen in the moment. I did let my community know that I had taken the dang trade in the Casper crew. All right. But now this is a potential trade we could have if we're going to pump from here to, front run the breakout. The next area I'd be looking for is coming down into this zone of consolidation right here. So if this long trade gets stopped out, the next area that I would actually look to get into a long from is this area consolidation. Because remember, this is going to be the trend line. This white box, as we're looking at this previous zone of consolidation right here, this is going to be the trend line, right? So if we're saying there could be a breakout here, instead of waiting for a breakout to long the top, I would rather say, okay, how about we come back down into the box and the trend line confluence with the Fibonacci golden pocket 786 to look for that long. Because remember, if the trend line is going to be respected, this is a major zone confluence to look for another higher low and then the break. All right. Another way to approach this and an easier way to get into the trade would actually be if we do something like this, right? We pump up, we reject from the support resistance flip, we shoot down to wreck everybody. And as we shoot down to wreck everybody, the daily time frame gives us that juicy uneven butt cheek pattern with the big ricotta cheese on the left with the needle. You poke it, you squeeze it, you slurp it, the skinny on the right. And that would actually be a very easy long to take because now we have a weekly hidden bullish divergence and a daily regular bullish divergence. And we could look for the move back up towards $115,000, $116,000. And this is basically what we are looking at, right? And of course, depending on how long it takes to get us there, we either make a lower high on the back test of the trend line, right? Or if it takes us a while to get there, like, you know, technically, if it takes us a few months and we get there in February, we could even make a higher high, hit $130,000 in February, right? And back test that trend line and then come back down, in my opinion, to see some more downside in 2026. Because again, why am I looking for downside here? It's because of the 2 month, it's because of the 1 month, it's because we've broken the trend line of the bull market, right? I mean, this is a very important trend line here. 1, 2, 3, 4 taps, every major low in the uptrend. We have the 4-year cycle, 500 days after the halving. We print some bearish signals, we lose the trend, all right? That's why I'm looking for more downside. Could I be wrong? Yeah. And if I am wrong, could this be the low? Yeah, all right? So this could be the low right now. The low could be in. It could be. It actually could be. But I highly doubt that right now. Okay. So as we come down even lower, let's go to our 4-hour time frame. A few things of importance here are this. The first thing of importance is we did print bullish divergences at the low right here. As we came to test the Fibonacci Golden Pocket 786, what do we have? We have the trigger wave, right? So we have the bullish divergence, we have the continuation pattern, all right? What we would be looking for now, guys, is this. If we're going to come down to the trend line on the 4-hour time frame, we're looking for that area between, I mean, it could be a pretty big zone, but let's just call it 86.5, like for argument's sake, 86.5. We'll use the trend line for argument's sake. All right, we'll use the trend line for argument's sake. In this case, it's going to be like 87.7-ish, right? What we would ideally want to see here is something like this. Have the 4-hour time frame now be giving us a low momentum wave, lower than this, and that's a really nice continuation pattern, especially given the context of, you know, the weekly and the daily and all that, right? So this be something that I'd be interested in. If not, then I would say taking out this low would also give us a bullish scenario here because of the bullish divergences that we would see, right? The 4-hour money flow potentially getting higher. But for that to happen, we would need to see it would need to be a quick drop, right? It would need to be a quick drop. Otherwise, things could turn bearish because remember, technically speaking, we are in a bear flag, guys. All right. If we want to get technical, this is a bear flag, right? We've had a big impulse to the downside from the all-time high. Now we're consolidating in a flag for the first time since the all-time high. We have a flag. The target of this flag is, technically speaking, the support resistance slip going all the way back to 2021, March or April or wherever that was. Basically back testing this major support resistance flip from the previous cycle and then this big bull flag, right? So that is what I'm looking at for Bitcoin. I lean bullish and I'm expecting one of the two bullish scenarios to play out here. Either we make a higher low and continue on the trend line, or we chop around, take the low, and then eventually I think we will get the move, simply because you can go back and test for yourself every single time we get el punto verde, which is Espanol for a green dot on the weekly. And I don't mean like one of these weird ones like in the middle of nowhere. I mean one that's very clearly under the 0 line, right? They always give us significant upside, all right? Even if it's short-lived, you cannot find an instance where one of these green dots does not give us significant upside, bear or bull market, right? Significant upside. So right now, let's drill down even lower here, because on the 24-minute time frame for Bitcoin, we have just seen a pattern play out here, which is basically the opposite of the pattern that played out up here. If you guys remember, on Tuesday, I took a short trade live from right here. And the reason why I took the short trade is because we saw the price make a clearly defined high. We wicked out that high and then dropped below the level. And we had bearish divergences across many time frames. We had bearish divergences on the 1-hour time frame. All right. As we did that, we had the money flow getting lower as we did that. And so therefore we had a valid short entry. If you want to go back on Tuesday and watch me take the trade and listen to my rationale and why I took it, and why, even though I wasn't necessarily feeling super bearish here, I still had to take the trade. I had to. Well, we had a very similar setup right here now locally. If we zoom in, you can see that we had a pretty clearly defined low right around here that we made last night. And what we did is we simply came and we took that liquidity, and then we got to move back up. And if we take a look at market cipher B, we had bullish divergences, right? We had the momentum getting higher as the price was getting lower. We go to our 24-minute, and we have really nice looking momentum waves, right? In the moment, as we took the low, it's very clear that the momentum waves are getting higher as the price is getting lower. And remember, I am not looking at dots. I don't care about dots. I'm only looking to see, is the oscillator higher now than it was? We go to the 12-minute time frame. Absolutely beautiful. We have ourselves a beautiful big left cheek. We have a nice skinny, look at this. I mean, as we were coming down below, it was looking really nice. Money flow getting higher. All right. So I did have to take the trade. I did let my community know that I was taking the trade and that it looked really good based on our 1 hour, 24, and 12-minute. You know, I posted this after, by the time I could post, we had gotten a move, but I said, watch for a retest. We did, in fact, get the retest. If you see, we came back down to, hang on one second here. We came back down to, basically, the level again, right? We came to the level again. And as we come down, taking a look at our lower time frames, and we can see we just have continuation waves from the initial low, right? From the initial low, continuation waves, continuation money flow, and we did get a back test. Now here we are. Now what's interesting about this long trade also, guys, is look at what we did. We wrecked all the longs, we've wrecked all the shorts, and now we're trying to break out the range again. What price action is this? I mean, this is actually really nice price action if you are a day trader. These are the type of trade setups that honestly are the easiest to take, because when you have a range like this and you make a slightly higher high and you see market cipher B making the lower momentum, it's an obvious entry. And vice versa, when you see down here price make a slightly lower low and you have the bullish divergence, it's a very clear entry. It's a very tight stop loss. You know where you're wrong. You know where target one should be, at the top of the local area. Of course, I did not take a profit one on this long trade because I was just not in my current trading strategy right now. So I'd say this, you know, if Bitcoin can break out of this area, I'd say we could get a significant move up here based on this 1 hour bullish divergence. If this 4 hour gives us another trigger wave here, we could see. You know, it is quite interesting. Bitcoin has been really loving wicking out people and then pumping. Look, it happened over here, right, on Sunday. Then it happened again over here on Monday. And it literally has just happened again over here on Thursday. And again, these short trades, I mean, look at this. It happened over here on Tuesday, and it did it over here. Of course, this one was a little bit more difficult to get in. It took a lot more time. But we basically did it here on December 3rd. In fact, you could look at this high from December 2nd, and we just wicked it out with the bearish divergences. This has actually been a pretty nice range to trade because the setups have been quite clear here. All right, so if we break out of 90,468, we're probably going to get a move up to, I'd say, to back test this mini range area up here. So let's go ahead and put this on. Probably coming up to 92.5, 92.6. If we're going to look at the volume here, let's look more locally at the volume. Yeah, our first target would have to be 91.6. Value area low. 91.6 would be our first target. If we break out of here, I say we could get vacuum sucked up another 1.35%. And if we can reclaim 91.6, I mean, yeah, we could come up a bit higher here. All right. So that is pretty much everything I'm looking at on Bitcoin. So make sure to smash up the likes, make sure to subscribe to the channel, make sure to click the bell for notifications. market makers are ruthless right now. You know what? I don't think I think they've been more ruthless in the past. I personally think that this kind of price action is very easy to trade compared to some other market maker action we've had recently, where we don't get these clearly defined kind of wicks. I mean, if we're looking for longs at the bottom and shorts at the top, honestly, it doesn't get much easier than this, does it, man? It doesn't really get much easier than this. And so if you're in there and you're taking your profits and you're using your good risk management, this is actually the kind of price action that I wish we had all the time. Like, this is the kind of price action I wish we had all the time, because it really is just, it's very simple to trade. It can't get more clear than this kind of stuff. But let's check out ETH. All right, the ETH price. All right, let's take a look here. This is the 4-hour time frame. So here's the thing about ETH, guys. ETH right now is, I would say, let's just objectively look at ETH. All right, this is the 4-hour time frame. We have formed this disgusting pattern here, and we've come down to bounce from the Fibonacci golden pocket. All right, so we're bouncing from our 786 fib here. I'm going to turn off everything except our 786 so we can clearly see what is happening, right? We bounced from our 786, and from this point, we've actually started forming quite bullish market structure. Much more bullish looking than Bitcoin's range right now. Clearly defined highs, clearly defined lows along the way up. We have flipped this important swing high into now support. We've changed market structure, and we're starting to come up and stop out some of these guys here. I would say that, as long as we can continue to make higher highs and higher lows here, the probabilities are we actually come up to $4,000 ETH. Especially if Bitcoin is going to confirm that weekly green dot, I'd say it's an easy move up to 4,000 right now. ETH is going to also confirm in 3 days the green dot on the weekly. And again, guys, confirmed green dots on the weekly. All right, they are, objectively speaking, bullish. All right, we confirmed the green dot on the weekly here. The low was already in. Yeah, we got a big pullback, but the low was already in. All right, you confirm the green dot here, low already in, pump up. Confirm the green dot right here. I mean, technically, if we're going to take it from this low, low already in, we get a big retracement, but eventually we pump up. So I would say, again, this is not, weekly timeframes are not for you to leverage trade, guys, because a weekly signal can confirm, and it could be bullish, right? Like, the low could be in, right? Let's say the low's in. You have the weekly green dot is confirmed right here, right? If you get in here, there's no saying we can't just continue to range for a little bit before the big break, right? It happens all the time. Those high time frame signals mean, yeah, the bottom's in, but don't be trying to leverage trade this unless you're a gambler, because there's room for volatility on these big time frames, right? We're clearing out the noise, and the noise is what's going to get you stopped out, right? So you got to really understand that when you're looking at the high time frame bias, that's giving you opportunity to then look for a lower time frame entry if you're a day trader. If you're a swing trader, low leverage, whatever, right? But if you're a day trader, don't be 20x leverage, 25x leverage because of a weekly signal. That's a one-way ticket to Wreck City, all right? If you don't know how to trade, make sure to check out Jason Casper's trading course on Jason Casper's YouTube channel over here. All right, let's take a look. We got a free trading course on Jason Casper's YouTube. Go to playlists, check it out. Free trading course, 18 series. Make sure to check out the session on risk management. All right, risk management. Where is that? Where's the risk management session? Here we go. Session 2. We start with the risk management because that's the way, man. That is the way. All right. Also, guys, if you want to trade with the lowest fees, make sure to check out KCEX. If you want to join the Casper Crew VIP Discord, where we give the setups and the trades and all that stuff with 3 instructors every single day, you can go to jasoncaspertrading.com. I'm also trading on WEEX. I'm trading on BLOFIN, and I'm trading on ZoomX. All right. Links to all that stuff in the pinned comments and description. So back to ETH here. I'd say $4,000. Look at this beautiful level. Resistance in May, resistance in August, and then obviously November 2021, fake out of it. And then it's our resistance 3 times during this exact bull run. We formed this disgusting move to the downside. Very easy to squeeze. I'd say we could easily come up to 4,000. Now, here's something we need to also be aware of on ETH, which is this. I recognize that even if Bitcoin does not hit a new all-time high, ETH is looking like it is ready to outperform Bitcoin like crazy now. Not only do we have an inverted head and shoulders pattern on the weekly time frame, which could give us a new all-time high on ETH for sure, like at least 5,500. But if we take a look at the ETH versus Bitcoin pair, ETH versus Bitcoin pair, look at this. All right, this is the weekly time frame. We have seen a big impulse to the upside and a very easy to squeeze, after a very easy to squeeze move to the downside, big impulse up. Finally, we have some clearly defined market structure here. After sloppy, unclear market structure on the way down, we are setting ourselves up for a big outperformance of ETH against Bitcoin because we have clear market structure, clearly defined low, clearly defined high, clearly defined higher low, clearly defined higher high, clearly defined higher low at the back test of the high volume node going all the way back to 2017, and a weekly trigger wave about to print. This could have ETH outperform Bitcoin by 50% to potentially 138% in the best case scenario. Now think of it this way. If ETH is outperforming Bitcoin by, let's say 50-60%, and Bitcoin is not necessarily hitting new all-time highs, but Bitcoin is coming back up, to some targets to the upside, maybe 108, maybe 115. If ETH is outperforming Bitcoin by 50-60%, we could see ETH hit new all-time highs, right? So these are things to keep in mind. Let's take a look now at Bitcoin dominance, because again, if we want to see some altcoin gains in the next few weeks, we want to see Bitcoin dominance continue to come to the downside. And on the day, we can see Bitcoin dominance is coming down quite a bit. I would have to defer to the overall trend right now, which is we have broken down from a pretty significant macro rising channel. We formed another little bear flag here, and we are breaking down from it with a target to take the low below 54%. And so if we're seeing Bitcoin hold support, and we're seeing Bitcoin get a relief rally, and we're seeing Bitcoin dominance decrease, that is good for altcoins, because it means the money is coming into the crypto market. It's keeping Bitcoin afloat, but the majority of that capital is flowing now into altcoins like ETH, and based on the charts, these altcoins look like they really want to outperform Bitcoin. Other metrics to keep your eyes on, obviously, guys, are going to be USTD dominance, because, it's not just Bitcoin and altcoins. It's Bitcoin, altcoins, and stable. So USDT dominance is a good metric of, is money going into stables or not, right? So we would want to see the USDT dominance continue to not reclaim this resistance. We'd love to see it kind of come down along with Bitcoin dominance. And that's going to give us the ticket to some altcoin gains within the next few months. All right, the next few months. Other assets to keep your eyes on, guys. Solana. Again, I do think Solana right now has the potential for a move to the upside. It doesn't look as good as ETH. All right, but I would say this, given the context of the range, having taken the liquidity and back testing the value area low with a potential weekly trigger wave, if we're going to see money flow into ETH, it's obviously also going to flow into Solana just because of its Solana, Solana is one I'm keeping my eyes on. Cardano, a tricky one. I know a lot of people hate Cardano. I myself have been burned by Cardano quite a bit, but I do just want to point out the fact that Cardano right now is literally at support as support could be. Even if we're heading into a bear market right now, this is not a bad place to buy Cardano if you're bullish on Cardano, which I personally am. I know it didn't do anything this whole market cycle so far, unless we're entering into a super cycle. But objectively speaking, this is a good chart to buy because 10-to-1 risk-reward ratio. Now, we are also seeing here hidden bullish divergence on our weekly time frame. If we go to our daily time frame, we are seeing a very oversold wave here. I mean, it's very, very oversold. And, this wick really does throw everything off, because this wick, you could either ignore the wick or not ignore the wick, right? Obviously, first major sign of strength on Cardano is going to be reclaiming 50 cents. That's going to be key resistance. But if we see capital start to flow into altcoins, it would not surprise me if we could not see Cardano get a big move to the upside, even if it's not anything too crazy, even if it's just back up to the trend line, which is still 100%. That's still 100%. Now, if we go to ADA Bitcoin pair, look at how Cardano looks against Bitcoin. All right, let's go to the weekly time frame. Now, again, if you hate Cardano, please disregard. But we are seeing bullish divergences, money flow getting higher. Let's put it back on log scale. You can see that we have this kind of channel thing. We're back down to the support. We wicked all the way back down into this major box of support. And we're seeing like bullish divs on the weekly here. You know, it looks like we could see Cardano maybe get some move to the upside against the USD, potentially back to the trend line 100%, which is not insignificant. And if we see it outperform Bitcoin, well, you know, it's definitely very bottomed out. If we're going to look at this as a Bitcoin pair, it is definitely bottomed out. And again, the upside potential versus Bitcoin is astronomical. All right, it is astronomical. So this is a chart I'm looking at. Obviously, like I said, I've been burned by Cardano many times. And so if you hate Cardano and you're never going to go on another date with her again, then fine. All right, fine. But the chart itself does look nice. All right, Bitcoin's getting a little bit of a pump here. And we are going for, looks like we're trying to go for that high uno mas. All right, we're trying to go for the high uno mas. Let's take a look. We're going for the high uno mas. Let's take a look at the good old fashioned market cipher B. And we might actually just chop around here even more. No way, man. My treadmill stopped? What the heck? Shout out to Invez Trader who says, don't worry, it will pump just because I shorted. Well, I hope you don't get wrecked, man. Shout out to J-Boy Bullish. He says, God bless JC and family. God bless you, J-Boy Bullish. Actually, it looks pretty good on the 12-minute. Let's check out the order flow. Let's check out the order flow. What is this? Oh, here we go. Yeah. Actually, you know what? We've seen a slight increase of CBD. Let's check this out here. Yeah, I was gonna say it looks like a nice like bullish CBD here, but it happened like on flat open interest. It happened on slightly. You know what? This does look slightly bullish here. This does look slightly bullish here. At the low, market cipher B looks bullish here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get that move up to 91.6 right now. Let's see, 91.6. Let's see if we can't pump it up to 91.6, baby. Can we pump it up to 91.6? What's my thoughts on Giggle? I don't have any thoughts on Giggle, to be honest. I'm really sorry. Dow outperforming the NASDAQ and S&P this week makes me think we might be near the end of the bull run. The macroeconomic bull run. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what's up in 2026. I'm still going to go with my... I'm expecting upside, but then I expect the first part of 2026 to be bearish. For crypto, at least. I'm going to stick to that until I'm wrong. I'm going to hold to it until I'm wrong. Trade farts like a real man. I love to trade farts. I fart into a jar, and then I go to the flea market, and I barter with people. I'll give you this fart in a jar for some fiat currency, but I also take Bitcoin. Here we go, baby. Bitcoin pumping. Let me sniff your sandals. All I want to see is another blue candle. Bitcoin pumping. Let me sniff your sandals. All right. Coming up to this area here. 91.5. Come on, baby. Come on, Bitcoin. Can we get up to the target? Can we get up to the Targe? The Target. Those bull divs are playing out on Market Cipher B, baby. Let's see. Let me sniff your sandals is wild, man. Yeah, Bitcoin's pumping. Let me sniff your sandals. That's how we roll in the Casper crew. Right? Bitcoin pumping. Let me sniff your sandals. Yeah. Oh yeah. Here we go, baby. About to pump. Hey yo, Bitcoin pumping. Let me sip your sandals. All I wanna see is a blue candle. Cause we're pumping so fast I can't handle. On the TV, subscribe to the channel. Cause J Casper, we're chilling in the house, baby. Trading Bitcoin for the Bitcoin bounce, baby. Yeah, on the treadmill, not the couch. And let me take a look to see if you're a slouch. But hey, at MCB, we're gonna see if it looks good between you and me. We got big on the left, you know it's nice and juicy. Skinny on the right to round out the booty. It's called the bullish divergence. You heard this, the Bitcoin price is getting so emergent. You take the pin and you stick it in the cheek. You give it a squeeze, the ricotta cheese comes out. Suck it up with your tongue in your mouth like a mouse. Next thing I know, we're going like a slouch outside to the chicken coop, getting the eggs. Bitcoin, you know we never train legs. Arms and chest only, it ain't no baloney. Bitcoin pumping, listen to me, homie. Cause J Casper about to spit some bars. Next thing you know, we get into the car, we hit the gas, we go far, going past. You know we about to blast through resistance, we ain't last, we only first. Cause it's how we do it when the price about to burst. Feeling like a white boy like Fred Durst. Backwards hat, purple, not red only. Bitcoin price looking so polony. Cause we're about to pump and hit the next target. The Bitcoin price, I really got a fart and I got that gas in my belly. Then I spread the spread on the bread like Smucker's grape jelly. Got the peanut butter jelly time. Listen to J Casper rhyme. Next thing I know, I'm out picking key lime pies. About to make the pie lemon meringue. Heard that you called me cause the phone rang. I picked it up, I said, bro, how do you do? Hey, sit back and welcome to the trading school. Jason Casper, about to go faster to grasp her. Next thing you know, I am the trading master. Pump it up and this ain't no disaster. Look like it happened right after we came. Liquidity got grabbed. Bitcoin bulls are not sad, cause we're pumping up in the rocket ship. Next thing I know, we eat potato chips, then we rock it, tippy top it, then we sock it, don't drop it. Ethereum market makers coming out, they never stop it just to top it. You know, J Casper stops like the man in the mall with the nice mop, cause the floor got wet. Slippery, be cautious. Bitcoin price pumping, don't get nauseous. Cause you know, once we break resistance, bout to rocket ship, pump up and go the distance. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, let me sniff your sandals. That's my favorite line. That is the favorite line, you know? Do you think we could hit it? Do you think we could hit it? Do we have single prints? Let's check out the single prints, alright? Let's see if we have los single printos en españole. Españole. I speak Spanish with an Italian accent. Hola, mi amigo. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás, señor? Me llamo Jason Casper. I love to speak Spanish with an Italian accent. It's my favorite. Oh, wow, look at that. Yeah, single prints up here. Yeah, let's fill the SPs, baby. Fill the SPs, baby, please. Extra cheese on my knees. Let me hear you squeeze. Crap. Looks like a pump and dump. Looks like a pump and dump. Dang, baby. That's not what I want to see. That's not what I want to see. He says, hola, ¿qué tal, Jason? Muy bien, gracias. Y tú, Rafael? Pasta fagiole. Mamma mia. Bitcoin at 70 is most likely happening soon after that epic bull run. Yeah, that was a pretty epic pump, and I hope we don't get the pump and dump here. To be honest with you, man, oh man. Well, we'll see what happens if we start to lose yellow line. I might FOMO out. If we lose the yellow line. Let's check out the order flow. That was a big old short squeeze on that one. Lots of shorts stopped out on that. That's why we got the big move up. Probably lots of stop losses trailed above this last high here. Do I trade Bitcoin options as well? I don't, but did CryptoFace start that? Thank you so much for the super chat, by the way. I really appreciate that. But as you can see, we are getting a bit of a red candle here. And, yeah, the candle's red. And so when I applied for being a crypto YouTuber, they said, if you're ever live and we start to dump, you need to end the stream immediately.